All right, so let's talk about WWE Raw. In particular, the way one match on the show went, along with what the wrestlers said on social media after the show was over, you really seriously wonder, is this a sign that two more WWE wrestlers are going to be released by the company? So let's just take a look at what's happening here. In the first match here, we have a 6-man tag team match. We have Logan Paul and Austin Theory, the current WWE World Tag Team Champions, along with their tag partner Braun Breaker, with their manager Paul Heyman, versus Joe Hendry and the Street Profits, consisting of Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. Now, at the end of the match, Braun Breaker asked Austin Theory to distract the referee, and Austin Theory did so. But as Braun Breaker went, to do a running spear on Angelo Dawkins outside the ring, out of nowhere, Seth Rollins comes through the crowd and ends up attacking Braun Breaker. Now, so that whole thing, completely backfired, and Austin Theory gets distracted by Seth Rollins beating on Braun Breaker, which leads to Angelo Dawkins just doing a quick roll-up pin on Austin Theory, so that the Street Profits and Joe Hendry end up winning this match with Angelo Dawkins pinning Austin Theory there. And the next match here, we have Rusev versus Javon Evans. Now, Javon Evans had a solid, decisive win here with his double springboard OG cutter off the top rope. I don't know, the match was okay, it was fine, but I just thought it was going to be more exciting than it was, but, I guess it was what it was. The match ran for like 7 minutes and 15 seconds once you subtract out the commercials that Netflix was running. And the first match, that first tag team match, I think that ran, once you subtract out the commercial breaks, it was like 7 minutes and 10 seconds. So we'll just see how, for this show that ran like 2 hours and 24 minutes, how much of this time was actually wrestling. That's why I'm pointing this out, So, all right, so then in our next segment here, we have Asuka and Io Sky are backstage, and they're giving each other an emotional goodbye, as Asuka is said to be quote-unquote semi-retired. And in this segment, Asuka, she's wheeling her luggage out of there, and she's leaving, and she's quote-unquote passing the torch along to Io Sky. She's talking about she's so glad to see that Io Sky is going to be the one that's taking her place in the company, and so we'll see what all's going on with Asuka. She's going to be working on for the company, maybe on like a part-time basis going forward. Maybe she'll be on like a kind of like a deal like Brock Lesnar, where maybe she just wrestles during some of the biggest pay-per-views that WWE has, or premium live events, such as like the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, SummerSlam. We'll see how all that works out. And anyway, up next we have match 3, and we have on the show, this is Sol Ruca versus Io Sky here. Now this match ran for 9 minutes and 25 seconds with once you subtract out any commercials. And at the end, Sol Ruca did her finishing move off the top rope, the Soul Snatcher, but Io Sky moved out of the way, and Sol Ruca just ended up crashing to the canvas, crashing right to the mat there. So Io Sky then just used a crucifix pin on Sol Ruca, and I'll put that down as a solid, decisive win there, because hey, you never see anybody getting out of the way of the Soul Snatcher by Sol Ruca there. And honestly, when I saw this, the way it honestly looked like the move got botched or something like that. It looked like, Sol Ruca, she came off the top rope to do her finishing move, but it looked like, I don't know, Io Sky really wasn't in position, and Sol Ruca just fell to the canvas, and and then Io Sky, she tried to cover up for the fact that it was botched by just getting on Sol Ruca and pinning her to end the thing or whatever, to make it look like, oh yeah, we intended to do that or something like that. But I don't know. It didn't look right. It just kind of looked a little screwy to me and stuff. But anyway, that's how all that went out. But you never see anybody getting out of the way of the Soul Snatcher move by Sol Ruca. But that's how all that ended. Man, yeah, it just seems like the way things have been going in WWE, which since Sol Ruca has been moved to the main roster as of late, it doesn't really seem like she's been put over as strongly as maybe what you would have thought. The way NXT was putting her over like super strong and everything, and on the main roster, it doesn't really seem like that's happening. But maybe it's one of those things where they're just getting her to quote unquote pay her dues, so to speak. They're having her, not look so great, so we'll see how all that works out in the long term. Up next, this is an interesting match based on what happened here and what was posted online after the show was over. It makes you wonder, is WWE ready to release 2 more wrestlers? We'll see how all this works out. But anyway, this is Obafemi's open challenge match for anybody that wanted to come out and have a match with him. And at the start of this thing, we had Raw General Manager Adam Pearce. He comes out and says, "Well, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to cancel this match because nobody wants to come out to face Obafemi." So, and of course, Obafemi, he wasn't happy with that announcement at all. So now he goes to the back and he ends up attacking Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo from the SmackDown roster. And earlier in the show, we saw Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. They approached Raw General Manager Adam Pearce and asked him, they said, "Well, we were looking for an opportunity, outside of the SmackDown roster." So it made you think right away, well, maybe what they're going to do is maybe they're going to move both of those guys from the SmackDown roster to the Raw roster, because since obviously they're moving around a lot of people right now, so. But then, with the way this match was booked and what was posted online afterwards, you gotta wonder about that, because basically what ended up happening here, Obafemi, he goes to the back, he starts attacking Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, and he just drags them out to the ring, He's got Humberto Carrillo slung over his shoulder, and Angel Garza, he's just dragging him out to the ring. So for a 2-on-1 handicap match, basically. So, and now, the ref calls for the bell. It's a 2-on-1 handicap match, and Obafemi, he easily destroys Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo both at the same time, and Obafemi had a solid, decisive win in only 50 seconds when he pinned Humberto Carrillo, and Obafemi got 100% of the offense in that match here. And what was interesting about this is after the match, after the show was over, let's see, what the heck was that was posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. Now, after the match here, Angel Garza posted what seemed like a cryptic, ominous post. Now, normally people that post something like this, it's because what they're telling people is that they're about to get released from WWE, because either they're quitting or they know that the company is terminating their ties with them and stuff. But anyway, after the show was over, Angel Garza posted on X the following. He said, what was that? He said, all he said basically was, "Thank you to everyone who never jumped off the ship and kept supporting the Garza legacy through it all." And then tons of people were responding to Angel Garza's message. They were, talking about how they were, if this is the end, if this is their way of saying that WWE was going to release them, within the next, week or so, they're sorry to hear about that, and they wish them the best of luck if they get into they get into AEW or TNA and everything. So we'll see what happens with this, because who knows? Maybe they're talking about getting a new start somewhere else. Maybe they're talking about they're leaving WWE, or maybe they're talking about they're gonna be moved to the Raw roster. Who really knows? But anyway, that's how all that happened right there. And next thing I want to talk about with what happened on WWE Raw was next thing they plugged with WWE buying out the AAA Wrestling. In this next segment, WWE, they're plugging AAA Triple Mania 34, which is AAA's biggest event of the year. And for the first time, this event will take place over the course of 2 days. It'll happen on Friday, September 11th, 2026, as well as Sunday, September 13th, 2026. Now, on the second date, that they'll be doing that in Mexico, but, people are wondering, okay, well, they don't have an official location set for the first day of the event, so they're wondering, well, maybe like the first day of the event will take place in the United States, possibly, which, very well could happen because, you see, like, when you watch the WWE, their AAA show that airs weekly every Saturday on their YouTube channel, you always see lots of people from like the main roster or NXT or WWE Evolve. They're always going down to AAA wrestling and stuff for that show and stuff. So it very well could be the case that, hey, they might do the first day of the event may very well be in the United States. So you never know. So all right, now next thing we want to talk about is the next match. Now this is for the very first time on WWE television. We have the AAA Mega Championship, which is basically like AAA's like World Championship. That's going to be defended on a WWE, an official WWE show, like a main roster show. The AAA Mega Championship is going to be defended on WWE Raw for the first time here. So here we have Dominic Mysterio. He's the current AAA Mega Champion. He's going to defend his championship against the original El Grande Americano, portrayed by Chad Gable. Now, in this match here, we have Dominic Mysterio. He's walking to the ring with his cohort, JD McDonough, but JD McDonough never ends up coming out to the ring because Finn Balor comes along and backstage and completely destroys JD McDonough. So now Dominic Mysterio, he ends up coming out by himself. And this match, by the time you subtract out the commercial breaks, it only ran for like 6 minutes and 3 seconds. And anyway, at the end, now here's where everything just goes completely haywire. You might think at first, well, okay, hopefully the Judgment Day is not going to be out there interfering on behalf of Dominic Mysterio. But no, we got plenty of other people coming out and interfering, unfortunately, here. So here at the end, we have Rayo Americano, which is basically just Pete Dunne wearing a mask. He comes out along with Bravo Americano, which is Tyler Bate under a mask. And they're trying to distract Chad Gable. And Gable ends up, fighting off Rayo Americano. And then El Grande Americano, portrayed by Ludwig Kaiser, under a mask, he comes out and he physically interferes against Chad Gable while Bravo Americano was distracting the referee. Now, Dominic Mysterio, he then gets the upper hand in the match because of all the shenanigans, by Bravo Americano, and El Grande Americano, portrayed by Ludwig Kaiser. And now at this point, Julius Creed and Brutus Creed then come out wearing masks, pretending that they're Mexican luchadors as well, and they end up attacking Rayo Americano and Bravo Americano. And now Ludwig Kaiser, portraying El Grande Americano, then he distracts Chad Gable, while Gable has Dominic Mysterio in a submission hold, which leads to Chad Gable going after El Grande Americano / Ludwig Kaiser, and Chad Gable's trying to pull Ludwig Kaiser's mask off to reveal that, hey, it's just been Ludwig Kaiser all along, as everyone knows, However, Dominic Mysterio then got the upper hand on Chad Gable, doing his 619 maneuver, followed by a frog splash off the top rope, which led to Dominic Mysterio winning the match due to El Grande Americano / Ludwig Kaiser and Rayo Americano and Bravo Americano getting into the match. So just a big cluster, just a big freaking mess. And it seemed like, I don't know, with this El Grande Americano stuff, when they do this kind of stuff on their Saturday show, for their AAA show that airs on their WWE's YouTube channel, it seems like the Mexican crowd eats this up, but the American crowd just seems like, whatever. They're just not interested in this kind of stuff, and I don't blame them. So anyway, They announced, some matches for next week on WWE Raw. We find out that we're going to have a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match, and it's going to be Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez of the Judgment Day versus the current WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Brie Bella, along with Paige, because during today's episode of WWE Raw, we saw Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. They came out while Paige and Brie Bella were doing a promo out in the ring, and they're out there coming out giving Paige and Brie Bella a big freaking attitude, and so they're gonna have a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match there. Also, Oba Femi is gonna do a open challenge match, but we'll see if anybody actually steps up to the plate to go up against Oba Femi, or if it's a case where Oba Femi ends up just going to the back and grabbing somebody and just dragging them out like he did this week on today's episode. Now let's see what else. Now here's a weird situation here. We have, this is kind of strange, Maxine Dupree. She may be getting a new gimmick. We've seen her for a very long time. She's been with Otis Dosovic and Akira Tozawa in the Alpha Academy. But now there was a segment here where Maxine Dupree, she was spotted in an SUV that Logan Paul and Austin Theory got into right after an interview with Jackie Redmond, where the two said they were going to a restaurant, so they open up the door of the SUV, and there's Maxine Dupree in there. So you wonder, okay, it looks like now they're gonna be pretending Maxine Dupree is now in there with the Vision. So now she's becoming a heel. So we'll see how all that works out. Let's see what else is there. Now the final segment of the show, which I thought was probably the most interesting segment, we have what they were calling the Roman Reigns Acknowledgement Ceremony. It was done because Roman Reigns wants Jacob Fatu to acknowledge him as the Tribal Chief, since Reigns retained his WWE World Heavyweight Championship when the two faced off in a match at WWE Backlash on Saturday, May 9th, 2026. Now, in this segment here, we see Jey Uso, he meets Jacob Fatu out in the parking lot and urges Fatu to not start a war with Roman Reigns. But Fatu just ends up attacking and wiping out Jey Uso in the back, and Jacob Fatu says he refuses to acknowledge Roman Reigns, and if Reigns wants him to give him an acknowledgement, he'll have to beat it out of him. So now Jimmy Uso, then he meets up with Jacob Fatu as Fatu was walking to the ring, but Jacob Fatu ends up attacking Jimmy Uso next. And now Roman Reigns, he ends up attacking Jacob Fatu as Fatu is climbing through the ring ropes to get in the ring, and now they're both battling each other. And here Roman Reigns, he grabs a steel chair and then hits Jacob Fatu literally 10 times with the steel chair, saying, he's there yelling, acknowledge me or your ass is out of here. And, Jacob Fatu, he still won't do it, And, but then, after all that, after Fatu gets hit with the steel chair 10 times in a row, Jacob Fatu, he then gets the upper hand, and ultimately, he throws Roman Reigns through the announcer's desk. And then there's lots of WWE officials coming out, to try to break all this up. And the show ended with Jacob Fatu. He ends up, putting Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso, all of them through the crowd barricade to end the show. Let's see. Also on the show, we had we'll probably set up a match, for the next few weeks or something. We had Becky Lynch backstage giving Sol Ruca a big attitude. I'm sure that'll set up something. And, this is this is kind of like a nostalgia thing. And so we just had Lillian Garcia filling in for Alicia Taylor as the ring announcer. Now, also, we had a few matches announced for WWE. The next episode of WWE Saturday Night's Main Event, which will air on May 23rd, 2026 here. Here we have, they've announced a WWE Intercontinental Championship match where it's going to be Ethan Page versus Penta, the current WWE Intercontinental Champion. And this is happening because Ethan Page, Penta was cutting a promo in the ring on today's show. Ethan Page comes out, gives him a big freaking attitude, challenges him for the title, and Penta says he will grant Ethan Page that championship match. And also, we're going to have another championship match on Saturday night's main event on May 23rd. We're going to have a WWE World Tag Team Championship match where we're going to have the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, are going to go up against current WWE World Tag Team Champions Logan Paul and Austin Theory. Now, for this match, Seth Rollins, he offered the Street Profits his help with that because he's really sick and tired of the Vision, since, of course, the Vision threw Seth Rollins out of their faction. But Montez Ford, he wants nothing to do with that. He wants nothing to do with Rollins. And Montez Ford is telling him, look, he's telling Rollins, stay the hell away. That's what he's telling him. So, all right. So, anyway, the announcers for the show were Michael Cole and Corey Graves. And basically, that's how the show ended. And, of course, after the show, like we were talking about, where Angel Garza posted that ominous, message up on his X account. And it makes a lot of people think, geez, it looks like Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. Who knows, over the next week or so, don't be surprised if you see them being released by the company, either because maybe they might be some of those people that they were saying that WWE was asking them to, take a 50% pay cut, either that or leave the company. Because, the word was, I know, according to the an issue of the Wrestling Observer that came out recently, I know, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez were talking about that. They were saying, that the actual amount of people that they tried to get to take a 50% pay cut or to leave the company, it was less than half a dozen, and they basically were people that the creative team really had nothing for and really wasn't expecting to use, and really they haven't been doing anything with Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza recently. I mean, it seemed like ever since they lost the AAA Tag Team Championships in August of 2024, when they lost those belts to Pagano and Psycho Clown, it's ever since then, it seems like, any kind of push that Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo were getting was pretty much over. It seemed like they were always losing at something. I think the only match that I can really remember that those two have won since then, I think there was a match on their weekly show WWE Main Event where Angel Garza beat Apollo Crews, but other than that, it seems like they're not really doing anything with Angel Garza or Humberto Carrillo, so, I mean, they may very well maybe some of the people that, WWE was trying to get to either take a 50% pay cut or, just end up leaving the company. So we'll see how all that works out, and anyway, we'll talk to you again on the next video, and if this video resonates with you, hey, please, drop a like or subscribe, anything like that. It really helps out the channel, it really helps the channel to grow, or leave a comment, or, whatever you want to do. And anyway, I'll see you again on the next video. Take care.